This is WHEC TV, proudly serving Rochester. News 10 NBC Today starts right now.
It was pretty insane, actually. I was actually quite frightened.
And you're waking up to breaking news this morning. A small but powerful storm knocking down trees and power lines in Ontario County this morning. Meanwhile, flooding just south of there, causing major concerns this morning. We're starting you off with that breaking story. Flooding, major problems in some neighborhoods this morning.
Yeah, it's so bad in the village of Penn in Yates County. An emergency shelter just opened. The Red Cross opened the shelter within the past hour at the Penn Academy School.
Sounds like it has been a wild overnight for a lot of folks, right?
Yeah, for a few areas, the weather was a little more severe than others. Here around most of Monroe County, it was just a lot of lightning and just some ordinary heavy downpours. But obviously south, there's a little bit more damage to those storms from the overnight. Right now, there's a live Doppler 10 look that we do have that flood warning that's still up around Yates County, down in the northern Steuben County. So there's still some flooding issues down there. And here's the live Doppler 10. You can see, thankfully, down around Penn, things have settled down a little bit.
Turning now to Ontario County, people there also waking up to survey the damage. Early this morning, around 600 customers were without power caused by downpours, down lines, and lightning strikes. A scene many homeowners are facing right now, a chaos after those huge storms. We were on scene. One resident in Manchester told us the rain looked like a wall of water. This was the scene early this morning on Merrick Avenue. Take a look at that. Residents up checking out the damage in their neighborhoods. One man told us his belongings were thrown around by the strong wind, and today he's going to have to do a lot of cleanup.
I heard a loud, thunderous noise, and what it was the hot tub being shifted probably 15 or 20 feet, and the cover blew out to the back part of the yard and got split in half. And also was the grill being lifted up over from where the hot tub was to the other side and landed upside down underneath a bunch of branches as well.
Yeah, so far no injuries have been reported. Most power has been restored.
People in parts of Ontario County are waking up to some serious storm damage as well. We're talking about downed trees, power lines, lots of debris.
Took them by complete surprise overnight. Happened last night in Manchester and Shortsville. Nikki Rudd has been on scene all morning long, surveying the damage and showing us what neighbors are dealing with right now.
Driving through town, we didn't see much damage, but then you come here to Merrick Avenue and take a look. You can see how powerful this storm was, taking a tree, just snapping it out of the ground. Neighbors say that this storm sounded like a freight train. Now take a look at the aftermath. Shortly after the storm went through, the winds brought down utility poles, cutting power to hundreds of homes and businesses here in Ontario County. Our G&E crews have been working around the clock to get everyone back online. Right now, only a handful of customers are without power. We spoke with a man who lives here on Merrick Avenue. He says he's never seen anything like this.
The trampoline probably traveled about a good 150 feet.
Check this out right now. Wow, lightning late last night. This is the scene in East Rochester. Storms rolled through that area. You may have heard a rumble of thunder where you live. You can post your pictures on our Facebook page. We'd love to see them. We're going to stay on top of the aftermath of the overnight storms, especially breaking news in Yates County as folks there deal with flooding and get updates throughout the day. We're starting you off with that breaking story. Flooding causing major problems in some neighborhoods this morning in Yates County.
We've been talking about the conditions that it's so bad in the village of Penn in Yates County. An emergency shelter opened up just about an hour and a half ago. The Red Cross opened that shelter within the Penn Academy School, which is on Court Street, and we're told it's open to anyone who needs to get away from their house because of the flood damage there. And new this half hour, we'll talk more about the situation. Now, if you're headed to the shelter, you're asked to use the Liberty Street entrance, and you also have to be very, very careful because roads are flooded in and around the village, so be careful traveling. I also want to tell you that animals are not permitted at that shelter, so you need to leave your pets in place in a safe place.
Yeah, very serious situation. Last hour we heard from a representative from the Red Cross, mentioned she had spoken to someone who had just made their way to the shelter, and they said they lost everything overnight because of the flooding. Gives you an idea, folks, how serious the situation there is.
Yeah, the good news down there, the rain has stopped for the time being, but there's still ongoing flooding. And I got to repeat this statement from the Weather Service in Binghamton. The flood warning for urban areas and small streams in central Yates County continues until 8:45 this morning. Again, earlier, local officials continue to report a major flood event is continuing over a large portion of Yates County, including the villages of Branchport and Penn, where severe damage has occurred to roads and buildings in the region. And they emphasize in this, and we can't emphasize it enough, never drive into areas that look flooded. You don't know, the road could be gone underneath the flood water, and that water could be a lot deeper than you think. And water is very powerful, and it can sweep your car right off the road. So please take that seriously down there. But for that one area of Ontario County, and of course, for the poor folks down in Yates County, really took it. And look what happened as we go from 9 o'clock. Notice it was just wave after wave after wave of torrential rains that came through for several hours. And that's what caused the flash flooding and a lot of damage, and all the issues you're dealing with this morning was from a couple of just torrential downpours last night. But you can see in the last frame there, things are quieting down.
It happened last night in Manchester and Shortsville. And that's where we find Nikki Rudd live this morning to show us what neighbors are dealing with. Boy, Nikki, look at behind you, quite a mess.
Oh, yeah, and I just spoke to a neighbor. He says he feels like he woke up in a war zone. I want to show you. I've moved to Merrick Circle, just how fierce this wind was, how strong it was. You can see this tree, the bark just stripped right off of it. And then all these branches are down as well. And you can see the path as you move over to Merrick Avenue, that the damage just continues. Now, I spoke with a Manchester firefighter just a few minutes ago. He says they responded to about a dozen calls between 8:30 last night and midnight. Luckily, no injuries, but plenty of property damage. And you can see right now, we just crossed the street here on Merrick Circle, a garage or shed of some sort just up on its side, and another tree down right here, and siding ripped off this garage. No doubt a lot of people will be calling their insurance companies this morning. Plenty of damage and plenty of cleanup. Pat and Rebecca.
Wow, it's really an amazing situation. Thanks for showing us that damage. Nikki Rudd reporting live for us in Ontario County. We're going to focus on Yates County now, where there's a state of emergency in the village of Penn and the town of Jerusalem.
And that's where we find Rebecca Fath live in Penn right now. Boy, oh boy, hearing the stories, Rebecca, this morning, a lot of damage there.
Yeah, it is unbelievable. Right now we're standing on Gates Avenue, which is off 14A in Penn, and you can see this road is just completely washed out. I mean, this thing is destroyed. And the rain has stopped, but there is just still a heavy flow of water just tearing through here. And now this is just one of the many roads that we've seen like this. I mean, these roads are just destroyed. And as we were driving up, we saw pockets of where the roads were actually collapsed in on themselves.
This morning in Ontario County, crews have been working hard to restore power and help residents clean up.
It's a tough situation. Nikki Rudd has a report now from Manchester. Nikki.
Good morning, Pat and Rebecca. Neighbors tell me this is basically ground zero of where the damage started, right here on Merrick Circle. You can see the power, the force of this wind just ripping bark off these trees, toppling trees altogether, and tearing down branches as well. You know, power outages, there were hundreds this morning in the Manchester area, but our G&E crews have worked around the clock to get everyone back online.
News 10 NBC starts right now.
And they came around back and they cut through my neighbor's wall and pulled me and my kids out.
A storm slams the Finger Lakes region, leaving a path of destruction. Incredible stories of survival. Families holding on to each other as they walk through a wall of water.
Damage from this spring storm extensive, and the threat of more storms not over just yet. There's now a flash flood watch for the area. The hardest hit areas, in fact, are in Penn and Branchport, where roads are still closed.
We called the governor's office today asking about help for the area, and Governor Cuomo declared a state of emergency for Yates County. Emergency crews, water rescue teams being deployed there. We have team coverage on this spring storm.
We have crews all over talking with people who are stunned by the destruction. We begin with Rebecca Fath and a family's daring escape.
You can see behind me, the Salvation Army showed up. They've been giving out water and snacks, they say, to almost 400 people today. These are workers and victims. In fact, we're going to take you inside the home of one of those victims who is just trying to put the pieces of his life back together.
No, that's the only picture I've ever bought in my life. I loved it. No, that's gone. That was way up here. That's how high the water got up.
Robert Hawley lost almost everything he owns.
I think my house was probably totaled. The water almost got up to the second floor.
Everything is thrown about because of the violent and forceful water that came through here last night.
Water was up to the windows.
Jennifer Mobilia also in Penn, and you've been speaking with business owners.
Well, that's right. I'm down here on Elm Street, and this is really the area that was hardest hit. We're going to take a look at some of this damage behind me. Now, I would have been able to get a little bit closer, but the police want us to stay back because they say this road is not safe and it could collapse. But you can see this sidewalk here just collapsed, thick concrete collapsed. And then you can see these 3 cars here. This used to be a parking lot, but the asphalt just swallowed those cars. I don't know if you can see back where all of that rubble is. There's actually a car underneath that asphalt back there, and then that building that is just in a big pile right now. Yesterday, that building was almost done being renovated, and it was going to be open here in just a few short weeks. Now, we're going to take you inside right now for a look at some of these businesses and take a look at what they're dealing with and how they're trying to clean up.
Penn business owners hosing down streets, sidewalks, and inside their businesses after flash flooding destroyed a portion of downtown.
Kind of devastating. About 10 inches in the basement. 10 inches. It drained out to about 2, but there's a lot of mud down there.
We are joined now by the police chief, Mark Holtz. Mark, go ahead and tell us what the latest is here.
We're trying to shut things down, get things confined, keep the people out, keep them out of the area. Obviously, it's still not determined safe yet.
And tonight, Amanda Shavari's exclusive pictures from inside the camp showing the floodwaters that came inside. Amanda.
Janet, it is just devastating out here. The rain last night has left devastation all over Camp Good Days. We want to show you part of it before we get to those exclusive pictures. If you take a look behind me, this broken fence is supposed to extend the entire way down the creek bed. And take a look down here. You can see where the flooding and that rainwater just ate away at the ground along this creek bed right here.
Yeah, hi, Scott, and damage. The damage done here was from no ordinary thunderstorm. Behind me, you'll see a foundation that used to be the foundation for a small wooden shed. That wooden shed was deposited several feet away, and it's now in this pile, torn to bits, including the cinder blocks. And look at this. You see over there? Those are gym mats usually used in track and field. Those were sent hundreds of feet from the stadium into the trees that are behind me.
Brett Davidson is here to tell you what to look out for.
Scott and Janet, right now there are lots of people out there who just want to start getting their homes or businesses cleaned up. But there are a lot of precautions you should take when making decisions about who to hire to do that work. You don't want your emotions to get the best of you. Some of the more common scams, according to the Insurance Institute for Business and Home Safety, contractors who demand large down payments before doing any repairs only to disappear before any work is done. Phantom damage, that's when a contractor invents damage or creates more damage in order to charge you more money. And contractors that offer to pay your insurance deductible or work directly with your insurer. It could be a con to lure your business. To avoid falling victim, the Better Business Bureau says to stay away from the door-to-door repair offers. They could be folks from out of town who may be impossible to get a hold of later on. Make sure you get everything in writing in a detailed contract with costs and dates of completion. Avoid paying cash and check the background and references.
This is WHEC TV, proudly serving Rochester. News 10 NBC starts right now.
I got purple, a little gray, and then it came. Just like that.
Homes and businesses destroyed, streets flooded. The damage is shocking. Tonight, the cleanup continues in the Finger Lakes region after last night's storm ripped through the area. Now, the threat still isn't over either. Our entire area is under a flash flood watch until Friday. I'm Scott Kilberry.
And I'm Leah Lando. Now, we do want to tell you that school will be closed tomorrow for students at Penn Central. That's because a state of emergency remains in effect for that town, along with Branchport and Jerusalem in Yates County. Emergency crews and rescue teams have been out all day helping those in need. The images here, they're just incredible, and the devastation, hard to believe. Roads shattered, trucks flipped over, homes and businesses damaged, some beyond repair. The storm lasted a few hours, but the cleanup could take months in some of the hardest hit spots. Tonight, those recovery efforts are underway.
We have team coverage of this spring storm tonight. Lynette Adams is in Manchester, Ontario County, one of the spots that saw extensive wind damage. And we start with Amanda Shavari live in storm-ravaged Penn. Amanda, there are a lot of people who will not be able to sleep in their own homes tonight.
Scott and Leah, that is exactly right. This damage out here is almost something you have to see to believe. If you take a look behind me, you can see cars that yesterday afternoon were in a parking lot, but because of the rain and flooding, that parking lot just crumpled out from underneath them. This kind of damage is what we are seeing all over this town, not only in the business district here, but over at the residential, the homes. And homeowners have been telling me they've spent much of the day and night trying to clean this up.
We waited till the morning for the water to, recede, and we got mud.
While we drove through Penn, we found people literally raking their lawns. While that isn't unusual, the fact that they're trying to remove mud is. And it's all because of this creek. It may look calm now, but last night, Ron Daly says it was like a raging river.
Ontario County was also hit hard by these storms, and it was the wind that did the most damage there. Lynette Adams is in the town of Shortsville right now, where she talked with some folks who say it was a pretty frightening scene.
That's right. Well, driving through Shortsville tonight, there are very few clues that a powerful storm ripped through here last night. But that is due in large part to what seems to be neighbors looking out for neighbors.
It was here, it was gone, it was done.
Chris Johnston says he had just walked into his mobile home when the storm hit. He says he used to drive tractor trailers for a living and made many trips through Tornado Alley, so he knew this was no ordinary storm.
The sky got purple, a little gray, and then it came, just like that.
Johnston says he could feel the powerful wind lift his home. The quick storm left a trail of damage. Here at the school, it flattened a small shed and damaged the roof of the building.
This is what one street in Penn looks like. Again, we want to remind you there will be no school in Penn tomorrow because of all the damage. And we're going to go back to Amanda Shivari now. She is live in Penn for us. Amanda, what kind of help are people getting tonight?
Well, Leah, the support and the help out here has just been outpouring from the community and a lot of volunteer agencies. The thing we are hearing over and over is how this devastating damage is really bringing the community together. Earlier today, high school students and college students who didn't know anyone in this business district came down to help business owners save their basements, bring things out, bring things that were destroyed into garbage totes. They were really a very helpful support out here.
This is WHEC TV, proudly serving Rochester. News 10 NBC Today starts right now.
But the damage to the roof is just extensive.
When you say extensive, can you see right into the...
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you could see daylight from the inside. It's hard to fix something like that.
Repairs that could take weeks, even months to finish. Communities in the Finger Lakes still assessing the aftermath of a serious spring storm, and the threat of more rain isn't over. We first told you about the destruction as breaking news yesterday at this time, and we continue to track the challenges so many people are facing this morning, and also how such devastation is bringing communities closer together.
Folks, we have team coverage of the cleanup efforts that are going on right now. Rebecca Fath is live in Penn, Yates County, where flooding created enormous damage. She is tracking that for you. Nikki Rudd live in Manchester, Ontario County. There's been a lot of progress cleaning up from wind damage overnight there.
Now, there's still a lot of work being done in Manchester, Ontario County, where wind knocked down trees and power lines on Tuesday. Nikki Rudd is live there with an update on the progress. Hi, Nikki.
Good morning, Pat and Rebecca. You know, driving into Manchester today, we saw a lot of neatly stacked logs and branches along the side of the road. Here on Merrick Circle, you can see the trees that came down still here on one side of the road. Neighbors are hoping that the town will actually take care of these here.
We're turning to the devastation caused by brutal flooding Tuesday night in Penn and Yates County.
Homes were swamped, businesses are ruined, floodwaters rose to about 8 feet or more in some places. Rebecca Fath is live for us on East Elm Street this morning in Penn. So, Rebecca, what's next for so many of the residents that were slammed by that water?
Yeah, Rebecca and Pat, I'm actually standing in the main downtown area of Penn. This area was hit really, really hard, and many residents here are waking up this morning to a mess. Their homes are badly damaged by floodwaters, and some of them are waking up in a different place because their homes were wrecked by that violent spring storm that came through here. Here's some of the damage just behind me. You can see this parking lot actually caved in, and that's just one of the many, many major disasters we've seen here.
I mean, we continue to track the challenges so many people are facing this morning, and also how such devastation is bringing communities closer together.
We have team coverage of the cleanup efforts underway right now. Rebecca Fath live in Penn, Yates County, where flooding created enormous damage inside a business there, it appears. Nikki Rudd live in Manchester, where there's been a lot of progress cleaning up from wind damage.
Rebecca Fath is there once again. She's live at a restaurant on Main Street in Penn. What about the cleanup happening now, Rebecca?
Well, good morning, Rebecca and Pat. It's a busy morning for many of these restaurant owners here off Main Street in Penn. We're actually standing inside of Angel's Restaurant. This place has been here for 35 years. It's a landmark in this community, and they're out here bright and early this morning getting right to work to try to clean up. I'm actually joined now by Ron Crane. He also lives upstairs, but tell me a little bit about what's going on here this morning in terms of cleanup. What have you been doing?
Well, I've been sweeping and mopping and getting it all tidied up and ready for the big boys to come in and okay them to open up.
All right, Kevin, thank you. Now to our team coverage of this massive cleanup from this spring storm.
Parts of Penn still look like a disaster zone and will for a while. Take a look. Today, crews began tackling the big task of cleaning up a building that partially collapsed there. Cars are also stuck, and Yates Arc recently underwent a remodeling but was completely flooded out. Brett Davidson is live in Penn and joins us with how they're coping. Brett?
Well, Leah, much of the damage that we've seen on television is along here on East Elm Street. As you can see, the cleanup is well underway, but there was devastation across town as well, and at one local agency, it has displaced more than 100 developmentally disabled people. Here at the Arc of Yates County, they're assessing the damage and salvaging what they can. When the nearby creek jumped its banks, it began flooding in, leaving water, mud, and devastation behind.
All the floors were done. We reconfigured all of the space here. We put a nice new kitchen and cafeteria in, and there are 100 people that occupy the space on a daily basis.
This building services people from all over Yates County with developmental disabilities. There are day programs, physical therapy, and psychiatric treatments offered here daily. There's even a manufacturing area where clients get paid to do packaging work for a local company.
You may remember seeing this video yesterday. Toys that were supposed to go to needy children during the holidays ruined by floodwaters. Today, Gary the Happy Pirate told us he saw this and plans to help replenish those damaged toys.
2 years ago, we went to Staten Island. We helped out with Hurricane Sandy. So I feel this is even closer to home. We should help. We're right here.
Gary says he can easily get 500 toys to Penn right now, then plan for more to cover the holiday donations.
That's good to hear. New this hour, college students also helping with this massive cleanup. A lot of them showed up at a horse farm that was damaged in Branchport. And new at 6 tonight, Amanda Shivari joins us with that story. Amanda?
Last night, these horses had to be pulled from the stable as it was flooding. Damage can be seen all over, but the bright spot in this story is how the community is coming together to clean things up.
Well, when we got here, there was, we had seen that there had been about 3 feet of water go through. It put a lot of us in tears. We spend long hours here.
So the Keuka equestrian and soccer teams have spent the last 2 days turning this 6 inches of mud and debris everywhere into something that's livable for horses again.
No matter where you are, it's good to help people out. No one's hurt. No one is afraid of the water or anything. All the horses are fine. No people got hurt. It was just a lot of mud and a lot of water going through in a really short amount of time.
We're told it will still be a little while before the equestrian team can come back and practice in here, but students say they will come back each day until things are cleaned up and back to the way they were. In Branchport, Amanda Shivari, News 10 NBC.
All right, Amanda, thank you very much.
All right, so imagine you're already digging through mud and debris and now more rain.
Yeah, this is really like an uphill battle. Not only are people trying to salvage what they can, they have to brace now for that next hit. Amanda Shivari has our story from Penn tonight.
The rain is back here in Penn and community members are keeping a close eye on some of the areas hit the hardest just a few days ago to make sure the damage doesn't get worse, and property owners are taking measures to make sure their homes stay safe.
We can't do anything. We can't change it. We just got to wait.
As rain clouds move in, crews work to protect businesses along Jacobs Creek, and homeowners like Doug Marchanda Jr. work to get his house ready for any more flooding.
You know, like something you see in a science fiction movie almost. The water in our side yard was about 3.5 feet deep.
After the flooding 2 days ago, Marchanda has a plan and a backup plan in case it happens again.
This is WHEC TV, proudly serving Rochester. News 10 NBC Today starts right now.
And we are starting you off with breaking news this morning. A flash flood warning has just been issued in Yates County. Now that means more worries for the families and business owners who are already lost everything in a flash flood. We have a live report coming up.
It's something we've been tracking overnight for you while you've been sleeping.
Yeah, we'll get checking with Rebecca Fath in Penn Yan. But first, let's get right to it. Your hometown weather expert, Rich Cornelia. Rich, a warning means flooding is imminent or occurring right now, correct?
Yes, that's what that warning means. Now, we haven't got any specifics on exact areas or what parts of the region are experiencing the flooding, but it's certainly likely to be happening now that that warning has been issued. Let's show you that map right now.
Again, folks there waking up to a flood warning now in effect.
And it comes as that community is just starting to rebuild after that devastating flash flood from earlier this week. And we have Rebecca Fath in Penn Yan this morning as people wake up and go on alert again, Rebecca.
Yeah, Pat and Rebecca, as you can see, it's coming down pretty hard here again in Yates County. In fact, there are emergency crews right now setting up sandbags. They just set all of these up on Court Street. They're trying to divert this water. You can see it's coming through here pretty quick, and it's pretty early. But they're trying to get all of this water not to go down that street. Instead, come down Court Street and get to a bigger drainage system. In fact, the Director of Emergency Services, Brian Winslow, is already here on call this early in the morning. Director Winslow, tell us a little bit about what's happening.
Right now, we have one of our basins is overflowing up by our cemetery. So again, we're trying to divert water out of areas that have already been soaked from the previous rain.
Welcome back. It's 5:15. You are looking live at what's going on in Penn Yan, a village in Yates County already dealing after a flash flooding event from earlier this week. Now overnight rain that's causing a lot of problems there. Sandbags have already been put down to divert some of the water.
Good morning. It is 5:30. We are on top of a breaking story right now. A flash flood warning issued this morning in Yates County. That means flooding is imminent or has already been reported. And we can show you from our cameras here as we take a live look at Penn Yan this morning. That flooding is ongoing this morning. More floodwaters folks there are waking up to. In fact, emergency crews on scene sandbagging the sides of the streets to divert that water away from homes.
It looks like the storm sewers are clogged there, and we continue to cover every step of this difficult journey for the folks in Penn Yan and Yates County. And we have a live report coming up in just a minute. But let's get right to our hometown weather expert, Rich Cornelia, to find out when this rain is going to stop.
Yeah, we've been concerned about this heavy rain all week. That setup was there, and it certainly came in last night, and we're in the height of it right now with a lot of heavy rain across the area. So let's get right to it. We'll show you what's going on. First of all, let's do live Doppler 10. We'll put everything into motion. One thing to point out here, which is really the only encouraging thing we have, is our lightning strike counts at 0. So there is no thunder or lightning. So we don't have any incredibly heavy rain falling out there. It's just widespread moderate to heavy rain.
Rebecca Fath is live for us this morning to tell us what people are waking up to there.
Well, Pat and Rebecca, it's certainly not good to hear that the rain is going to actually get more intense, because right now we're standing at the top of Court Street. Now, this is the source where a lot of this heavy flood water is coming in. You can see behind me there's a cemetery, and all of this flood water is just pouring down Court Street, going down to the bottom of the street. Now, earlier this morning before 5 a.m., emergency crews were already out there placing sandbags, trying to divert this water from a side street that was hit really hard by the flooding on Tuesday. So crews are all over town. They're all in place, making sure that they're focusing on the areas that were hit by that violent storm that they saw on Tuesday.